I'm about as real as they come.
All my beats tailored by Joe.
House Digital.
Maserati Rick in Detroit, convertible bird in Miami. Graduated summa cum laude, strip club made a tsunami. Carlton Hines with the ball game, Grateful Edmonds with the snowflakes, Craig Pettis in the M-Town, Sal Magluta with the boat game, Falcone with the cocaine, like Freeway Ricky with the plug game, like Monster Cody in South Central, Larry Davis from close range.
Tonight, the story of a man who tried to murder his best friend. At the same time, he was attempting to win his way into Beverly Hills acceptance.
This is Michael Harris, a man drug agents describe as a major cocaine trafficker. At the young age of 26, he had already made millions of dollars. These are his roots, the streets of South Central Los Angeles, where he started pushing dope on street corners and hung with a blood street gang called the Bounty Hunters. In the drug world, he is known as Harry-O. Harris built an organization that distributed cocaine in California, Arizona, Texas, Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Missouri, Louisiana, Florida, and New York. Investigators say he dealt so much cocaine, major Colombian drug kingpins like Mario Villabona were obliged to deal directly with Harris. But like a mob godfather, Harris sought to legitimize his illicit fortune and gain Beverly Hills respectability.
In the 80s, he ran one of the biggest cocaine trafficking operations in the U.S., raking in millions a day. He was known as the Godfather, Michael Harry-O Harris, or Harry-O on the streets. He spent 33 years in prison. But even behind bars, he built one of the most prolific music labels in the world.
1, 2, bring it to the folks. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
His investment with Suge Knight would launch the iconic Death Row Records, giving rise to hip-hop legends Snoop Dogg,
Rolling in my 6-4.
Dr. Dre,
What everybody's saying.
and Tupac Shakur.
All I want is money plus the fame of a simple man.
What became known as gangsta rap, literally changing the music industry forever.
It's like this and like that and like this and
Until violence and the death of iconic artists would derail the dream. When the label erupted and went bankrupt, many thought it was the death of Death Row. But oh, were they wrong. In a surprise pardon in the final hour of his presidency, Donald Trump commuted Harry-O's sentence. And once freed after 3 decades, he emerged a man on a mission, picking up where he left off. He's not only launched new music and film studios to promote a new slate of artists, he's also partnered with rap icon Snoop Dogg, reviving a new Death Row label, this time in the metaverse. It's a redemption story like no other. The new Chief Operating Officer of Death Row Records at the helm of Boss City Studios.
It was an awe-stroking moment. I'm riding in the car with my folks and we're coming back from the prison. I just had a presence of mind and I just says, I don't feel it. And they says, what? I said, I don't feel what I just left. And that doesn't mean I don't feel the souls that I left in prison. But for that moment, I felt like I had never been in prison. That's how powerful freedom is.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb. We on our way to sunny California with it. South Central to be exact. Now, today we are going to be talking about somebody that the media dubbed at one time the gang godfather. A lot of people might know about him due to his association with the iconic record label Death Row. And the person I'm talking about today is going to be Michael Harry-O Harris. Now, a while back, Harry O was in the news because he had been pardoned by then President Donald Trump. Since then, he had came home and teamed up with Snoop to gain ownership of Death Row Records again. But a lot of people know about him and the $1.5 million deal that he had with Suge Knight, that his wife would end up winning a whopping $106 million lawsuit against him. But what's not known is his history before that. And I'm going to try to break that down as much as possible. Now, based on my research, said Harry O was born in and around September 1960 on West 46th Street in a neighborhood named the Low Bottoms in South Central. Now, it was said that Harry O was raised by a single mother, and it was noted that Harry O first got his start in the streets with his little brother, David. Now, growing up in Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s, like every kid, I'm sure Harry O saw the influence of gangs as the culture went from Black Panthers to pretty much gang culture. And in that environment, he essentially thrived according to the federal government. Now, Harry O was not just your average hustler. I'm going to get into how big the organization that Harry O was involved with, but with the proceeds that he made from his hustling days, he was able to invest in real estate. He owned a 20 fleet limousine service, hair salons, an exotic car dealership, a construction company. The list just goes on and on. But I would probably have to say the most impressive of all of those accolades is he would go on to produce a play called Stepping Into Tomorrow that would end up featuring the daughters of Martin Luther King as well as Malcolm X, the daughters of Harry Belafonte as well as Sidney Poitier. Now, it's also semi-widely known that he would go on to give Denzel Washington his start on Broadway in a play called Chessmates. Now, Denzel Washington, who was a native of New York at the time, had already had a serious resume, as he was known for playing a famous doctor by the name of Philip Chandler on a show by the name of St. Elsewhere, as well as he already had been nominated for Best Actor in the Oscars for his role in Cry Freedom. So he was already well on his way to be the successful actor that we see him to be today, but performing on Broadway would just go on to add on to his resume. Earlier, we talked a little bit about his wide-known history with funding the start of Death Row. But what a lot of people don't know is in 1987, it's rumored that Harry O helped launch Rap-A-Lot Records as well with a $200,000 investment. Now, Jay Prince would go on to dispute those rumors. But according to Harry O himself, he wouldn't go into detail as far as the $200,000 investment, but he would say that the two would part ways in 1994 following a dispute over ownership of a Brooklyn rapper by the name of Dana Dane. Now, if anybody is familiar with the Death Row saga at all, they gonna know that one key tie to Suge Knight and Harry O was gonna be a lawyer by the name of David Kenner. Now, David Kenner would be very important because he was almost like the go-between for Suge Knight and Dr. Dre to Michael Harry O. Harris. And the first signs or the links that I see that David Kenner have with Harry O is going to be on the case that Harry O would end up almost serving 3 decades on. Now, in that specific case, that also involved a subject that we have covered previously, and that's going to be a guy by the name of Waterhead Bo Bennett. Now, for those of you not familiar with Waterhead Bo, he was one of the most prolific drug traffickers in Los Angeles, or I want to say the nation's history. And he was tied in with a guy by the name of Mario Ernesto Villabona. Now, not quite sure of Waterhead Bo's relationship with Harry O, but they would end up being taken down on the same federal indictment. Now, in an article published by the Associated Press on May 19th, 1990, it would read, federal jury convicts 6 in international cocaine ring. And it would go on to say that 6 members of an international drug ring were convicted of distributing tons of cocaine in a case where authorities would say was one of the first links to a Colombian cocaine cartel and Los Angeles street gangs. Now, during the course of that trial, Brian Waterhead Bo Bennett as well as Mario Ernesto Villabona would end up being found guilty in a trial where they faced mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole under the new federal drug kingpin law. Now, also convicted at that trial was a female by the name of Maria Cecilia Fatima Barona, a gentleman by the name of Luz Jantif Martinez, another guy by the name of Michael Dewberry McCarver, as well as Michael Harrio Harris, with those 4 facing the possibility of 10 years to life in prison. Now, Harrio was part of a huge indictment with a who's of names in the drug game. It had ties to, we already mentioned, Bo Bennett, but Rayful Edmonds also had ties to that same indictment, and Mario Villabona. I've also seen where authorities seized upwards of $7 million from a residence. They also had a seizure of over 500 kilograms at one point in time. So if that don't tell you how much money they was getting, on August 26, 1988, the DEA would go on to seize Harrio's Hilltop Mansion that was worth $1.1 million, and it was located in the Fernando Valley Celebrity Field Encino neighborhood. Using the Federal Asset Forfeiture Act of 1984, authorities would eventually seize $3.2 million worth of Michael Harrio Harris's assets, including 2 other houses in a neighboring neighborhood by the name of Tarzana, 5 luxury cars, including a 1981 Mercedes-Benz and a 1988 Jaguar. So when we talk about big dogs in the game, Harrio is going to be right there with the top of the top. We're talking like BMF levels today. Now, y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Y'all hit the red subscribe right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Flood that bitch. Let me know what cities we haven't been to, what gangsters we need to cover, what stories we missed, what we got wrong. And y'all know what it is with me, man. It's your boy Popalot. Mobb, Mobb, Mobb.